No Nose Knows. Written by Irrespective. Chapter 29. A Wrinkle in Time.
This is all your fault,
Luna grumbled as she blew her nose into an already overused tissue.
It's always my fault.
Celestia replied with annoyance and a matching honk of her own.
Stop that, you do.
Windfeather admonished.
You're worse than my twins. She started it.
Celestia muttered.
I'll finish it too.
Luna weakly threatened. Windfeather groaned and bopped Luna on the nose, just hard enough for it to smart.
It is not her fault. You could have caught this from anywhere. This is Bean's doing. He infected me somehow.
Luna growls while rubbing her snout.
He did not. Earth ponies can't carry the virus. You picked this up from a Pegasus somewhere.
Discord's amused chortling drifted over the corner, and all three mares turned to give him an icy stare.
You know the feather flu can jump species, right?
The good doctor remarked dryly.
And opposite though they may be, you do have wings.
Discord immediately stopped laughing, sat up straight, and emitted a honk from somewhere. Gulped as his left eye twitched and then promptly disappeared in a flash, leaving nothing behind but a smell of menthol. Both Luna and Celestia chuckled at the revelation before passing a tissue box between them for the 18th time.
Where did my husband disappear to?
Celestia asked.
I told him to go order a nice warm stew from the kitchens.
Windfeather said.
And I believe he said something about checking with Wisteria to make sure there is nothing that needed to be done.
Celestia snuggled down on her pillow with a sigh.
Order. My Bean is a most disobedient spouse. He's going to make something. And since both of us are indisposed, he's going to make a lot of it.
The corners of her lips turned up ever so slightly, even after a long nose blowing.
Don't worry, dear sister. I'll share. Good.
Luna sighed.
A warm bowl of anything would be most welcome right now. He shouldn't be long.
Celestia chuckled.
If I were to guess, I would imagine he's being a rather large pest in the kitchen right now in an effort to help both of us feel better. Well, other than the feather flu, I think you're fine.
Windfeather announced to Luna.
Your treatment is the same as your sister's, lots of orange juice and rest. If you exert yourself, you'll stay sick longer. Also, stay away from any pony with wings. I will.
Luna nodded.
Thank you, Doctor. You're welcome. I will be back in the morning to check on you.
She continued.
If you need me before then, just send Prince Bean after me. We will, but we will also try not to disturb you.
Sounds good.
Good evening, Your Highnesses.
Luna and Celestia shared a couple of coughs between them as the doctor left, and then Luna moaned.
I hate getting sick. That makes two of us,
Celestia added.
But I do have to admit, it has been peaceful to simply rest. I didn't realize how nice it could be to let somebody else take over for a time. Perhaps this will cure you of your workaholic nature then. Probably not.
Celestia chuckled.
I know I need to ease up, but it's hard to do so after a millennium of being unable to. You should, though. You're going to drive away your Bean if you don't. Drive him away? He's been helping me run the kingdom already. Has he? In truth?
Luna asked with a wary eye.
From what I have heard, his help was most unwelcome yesterday. That wasn't help,
Celestia said, her mood souring instantly with the mention of the incident.
He was pandering to me, Lulu. I told him about Daybreaker, and then he decided to start walking on eggshells. Oh, are you sure that was his only motive?
Panzer glared at his sister.
Lulu, you know I can tell when a pony is lying to me, and when they're trying to stay on my good side. With most ponies, yes, but I would suggest your view might be a bit skewed when it comes to one who has your affections. You look at Baked Bean in a different way from me, or Wisteria, or any pony else. He has a singular place in your heart, and that changes things. Luna, he was trying to placate me when I wasn't upset. Alright, let's say you're totally right, and that all his actions yesterday were only to placate and pacify you. How did you decide to tell him that you did not appreciate what he was doing? Well, I had a talk with him last night after he apologized for being ridiculous. He agreed that he was wrong, and then we kissed and made up.
Luna gave her a flat look.
Sally, you never just talk to any pony when you're upset. You lectured him, didn't you? No, I had a conversation with him. What was the ratio of talk time between you and him? Well,
Celestia stalled and offered a cough.
He didn't really say anything. Forgive me if I'm mistaken, but I do believe a conversation requires two active participants. When one pony speaks and another listens, that is a lecture. No, it was...
Celestia was thinking of how it hadn't been a lecture, but her efforts failed.
It was a lecture, and I would suggest that you really didn't make up afterward. If I forced him to tell the truth, I am willing to bet he would say he did no wrong, and that he felt irritated by your reaction. Why didn't he say so then? Bean is a pony who likes peace, sister, and he'd rather let you be right than have to fight about it. He wants you to be happy, so he let you in. But he should have said something.
Celestia pouted.
If he had, would you have listened to him?
Celestia didn't answer, her ears folded back as she glanced away.
Sally, if you intend him to be treated as your equal, then you have to treat him as such. He is no longer merely one of your subjects, or one of your students. You are not the first, last, and ever word in between anymore with him. And this is doubly true when you're discussing domestic issues. You have to let him have an opinion, and you're going to have to let him take the lead sometimes. If he is doing something that irks you, then you have to be willing to listen to the why behind it. What if he really thought that he was just being helpful, like with the Citron Pressé? Is it responsible to suppose that he wasn't actively trying to pander, and that he was just assumed you wanted lemonade? There are a lot of moving parts to consider in these things. I guess you're right.
Celestia sighed after a moment of reflection.
I probably did come down a bit hard on him. One of the biggest challenges Star and I faced was making sure we were actually communicating. You will need to watch yourself in this regard as well. Talk with him when you sense a problem, not at him. Thanks, Lulu. I'll work on that.
Luna blew her nose and replied just as Bean came back into the room with a delicious smelling pot of homebrewed goodness sitting on top of a trolley cart. Not getting sick, huh? Bean smugly offered to Luna, and he received her tongue stuck out of him for the reply.
Is everything alright, Bean?
Celestia asked.
Did Wisteria need anything?
Everything is fine, he assured her. Wisteria has taken care of the reschedules, and I believe she's heading home for the night.
Good. Hopefully I will recover enough by tomorrow to get back to work.
I hope so too, but more because I want you to get better. Oh, you've gone and gotten yourself sick again, haven't you? Luna's ears flicked. That voice, that delightfully deep brogue.
What did you make?
Celestia asked Bean, and she tried to peer up into the pot. Make? He scoffed. I ordered a nice cabbage stew, just like Dr. Horsenpfeffer asked me to.
I am not sick. This is not but a tickle in my throat. You did not,
Celestia challenged. I did too, Bean protested with a laugh. I ordered it, and then 10 seconds later, I got impatient and forced my way to the back to make it myself.
That sounds about right,
Celestia chuckled. Aye, love, you're sick. Come on, I'll get something warm going. You best be getting that beautiful flank into bed. Here, careful. It's still hot. Bean offered a bowl to Luna, and she added as her magic took it from him.
Cabbage? Thou knowest I despise cabbage.
I know. But the war ain't been kind to the crops, and your sister insisted the staff cut back to half rations to help feed the front lines. It's all we have at the moment, love. The smell of pine wood and moss drifted into Luna's nostrils, smells that had not been deigned to introduce themselves nor to keep her company for well over 1,200 years. She inhaled deeply to savor them, to relish them, and to help recall the memories that they had brought as company with them.
I should be at the front with my troops.
Osh, and what good will that do? Just spread that golf through the ranks and do more damage than the Squall ever could.
But my place is there, and when they labor under the banner of Equestria,
She protested.
I refuse to lead from the rear.
Ah, well, you best be resting then. Sooner you get over this, the sooner you can get back to them, you mule.
I am no mule, she said with a laugh.
You act like it sometimes. He replied with a scoff and a smile. Luna watched silently as Bean sat down in front of Celestia and began gently blowing across the top of the stew. Celestia chuckled as he aimed the vapor towards her, and she took a deep breath of the savory aroma each time they wafted towards her. How are things in the front, love?
There are steady gains, and my sister hath raised a flag of truce to offer terms of capitulation. Time will tell if the envoy is accepted or not, however.
Aye, it'd be a right day if them squatch could come to terms. It might be hard to explain why you're gone, and I cannot help but to worry about you. Spears pierce the hide all the same, immortal or no. Oh, careful, Bean cautioned. It's still pretty hot here. Celestia picked her head up and readjusted her front legs, and she gladly opened her mouth as Bean approached with the spoon. She hummed a little as he fed her gently, and with a gentle toss of her mane, she prepared for him to come again. Osh, here. Best not to burn you with this. Open up. You sure you want me to keep doing this? Bean asked. I was just letting you sample it to make sure it was the right temperature.
Oh, but my dear Bean, I am sick.
Celestia gently pouted.
And you were given instruction to keep me from exerting myself. I have just enough strength to chew and swallow. I will need your assistance with the rest.
You're terrible. Bean laughed as the flames in the fireplace behind them whipped and surged slightly, and the crackle increased a tick in volume. But if you insist.
I do insist. Thy princess requires sustenance, and thou art the only stallion who can satisfy mine appetite.
Ah, you must be sicker than I thought. Starstruck chuckled a little as he scooped out another spoonful. Broken to the point of being unable to feed yourself. I guess I'll just have to nurse you back myself.
Thy princess expecteth it,
Luna said with a sort of happiness. I always knew you enjoyed being pampered.
I am not being pampered. Thou art assisting thy very weak and famished wife.
Assistant? Darling, you may be a warrior on the surface, but deep down you're a princess, and you enjoy being treated like one. You'd keep me here waiting on your every need if you could.
And I would regret not a moment of it,
he said with joy. The flame surged again in the fireplace, but Big Bean and Celestia were so absorbed in each other's eyes that the action went unnoticed. Luna smiled to herself as Bean would gently blow across the stew in the spoon, move carefully to feed it Celestia, and then retreat and start again once she had delicately sipped the succulence off and smiled anew. Luna smiled more as she continued to watch. Hundreds of years had passed, and yet love still had the astonishing power that it always held. The princess had again allowed a pauper into her heart, and the pauper was willing to climb to the near impossible mountains of expectations in order to have his princess. Love was weaving two hearts into one, caring not for station or power or custom. He was hers, and she was his. What else mattered in the end? The fire once again surged, and Luna closed her eyes softly. Nothing else had mattered then either. Aye, there you go. How's that cold feeling?
Better.
Luna hummed.
If thou wilt continue to provide my needs in such a manner, I believe my recovery shall be swift and sure.
Glad to hear it. I hate to see you sick. Luna softly slipped the contents of the offered spoon, and she quickly booped Starstruck's nose before he could pull back again.
I love you.
I love you too, he chuckled. Even when you're acting like a mule.
Thou wouldst be most displeased if I was not, and thou knowest it.
He simply nodded to this and offered another spoonful to her. Aye, I cannot deny that. You're just perfect. Luna purred a bit, and a happy silence passed between them for a few moments as he continued to spoon-feed her. He then chuckled, and she gave him a curious glance.
What doth amuse thee?
Ah, nothing, he said. Just thinking.
Wilt thou not share thy thoughts?
Hush, it's nothing but a memory.
Please?
Luna gently asked, before taking another sip. He gave her a soft smile, then sighed happily. Do you remember the first time you raised the moon with me? She hummed as the memory instantly came back to her.
I shall never forget it.
'Twas a night I don't think I could ever forget either. I knew you were up to something when you invited me out to the veranda, but no stallion in his right mind could turn away from that teasing flickle tail you gave me.
Thou hast always had a strange fascination with my backside.
Do you blame me? That backside of yours is mesmerizing, he said with a laugh. But then you draped your wing over me, and I thought I'd never find a deeper happiness. But then you raised the moon. He continued with that soft, smooth tone that drove her absolutely wild. There I stood, under the wing of the most beautiful mare that had ever graced the fields of Barra, watching as the magic of the moon mixed with the gentle caress of your side against mine. I just couldn't believe that a low-born mud-trotter like me could ever catch the attention of a princess. And I had not only done that, but I'd somehow fallen in love with you. And then you'd leaned in close to my ear. You have a voice that can shake the very stars above, but when you started to whisper, you were as smooth as silk. You told me your love for me, how you cherished me. You spoke of how I'd changed you, tempered you. And you told me that you'd give it all up if you had to. The titles, the power, even the moon itself if it came to that. All of it was nothing if you couldn't have me. I knew right then that I couldn't live without you. We had been woven together, so fast and tight that the only way to separate us was to rend the very heavens themselves. Come what may, my destiny was with you, from then to forevermore. It's amazing how one moment like that can change everything. Right then I knew that I knew, and I could never turn away from you without turning away from myself. Luna sighed happily.
And thou hast remained, amidst toils and tribulations most severe. Thou hast been a most loyal companion, and I will forever be grateful for thy devotion.
A soft tapping came at the door, and Luna visibly grew eager in anticipation, while she sat up and turned to face the source of the sound. "Oh, who's making all that fuss?" Star Trek called out playfully. "Get in here and present yourself."
Can I come in? Aunt Sally says Mum is sick.
"Get in here, you wee rascal." The door nudged open just enough for a small, lavender unicorn filly to stick her head through. She wore a worried look, but as soon as she saw Luna's outstretched arms, she flung the door open and galloped over as fast as her little legs could carry her. Both she and Luna laughed as they embraced, and Luna gave the small bundle a quick nose rub after they had done so.
My precious Twilight, how art thou in this fine evening? I'm good, Mum,
The blank filly replied with a huge grin.
Are you really sick? Indeed, but 'tis nothing more than the feather flu. Thy father hath been most attentive to my needs, and I believe my recovery shall be swift. Good, 'cause you said when you got back you were gonna show me how to raise the moon. I did?
Luna gasped in faux surprise.
My illness must be most severe. I do not recall any such promise. You did too!
Twilight protested vehemently.
You said I could help you raise it. Ah, now the memory returneth,
Luna said with a smile.
You want to raise it tonight, I suppose? Mm-hmm.
Twilight replied with a vigorous nod of her head.
I've been going over all the instructions you gave me. I calculated the relative velocity, accounted for atmospheric interference and weight distribution.
Aye, that she has. Star Trek confirmed as Luna glanced over him in surprised joy. I've even caught her mumbling things like apogee and side rail rotation period in her sleep.
And how have thy studies with Master Starlight fared?
Luna asked her daughter.
Well...
Twilight twiddled a hoof on the floor.
My grades are good, Mum. They really are. But...
Luna asked after the pause.
But he's so boring.
The unicorn couldn't help but to blurt out.
All day, nothing but formulating theory and conjectures. He didn't know how to have fun.
Aye, our little Twilight Starlight got herself into a wee spot of trouble yesterday, Star Trek added.
Oh?
Luna added.
I can't help it if Restful can't take a joke.
Twilight muttered.
All I did was turn his beard green. Green?
Luna chuckled.
Thou madest his beard green? Yeah, wasn't hard neither.
Twilight announced in pride.
All I had to do was sneak a reactive agent into his prune juice. I don't know how he figured out it was me, though. Thou art a wee rascal indeed,
Luna said with a laugh.
While I do not condone thine actions, Master Restful does need to lighten up, in my opinion. If thou dost vex him again, make sure thou art cut.
All three of them laughed at this before Twilight packed up again.
I will. So will you show me how to raise the moon? I suppose I can.
Luna replied, and our little filly whooped in joy. Another knock at the door interrupted the celebration, but all three were pleasantly surprised when they saw who had knocked.
Aunt Sally!
Twilight cried out.
Good evening, Twilight.
Sister replied as she placed her golden hem down and strode into the room.
I trust thou art well. Yeah, Mom's gonna teach me how to raise the moon tonight. Wonderful news,
Sister replied.
Thou art sure to be an expert at it, just like thy mother. What bringeth thee back here, sister?
Luna asked.
Thou art still in thine armor, so thou must be leaving again soon. Of a truth, I return only to share good news with my friends. The Sasquatch have surrendered and accepted the terms of capitulation. The war is now at an end.
Twilight whooped again, and Luna shared a quick nuzzle with her husband to celebrate.
I must return to oversee the disarmament and to ensure compliance with the terms, but I felt that thy recovery, dear sister, might be expedited if thou knewest of these things. I have given thy division to Flash Magnus to oversee, and that art relieved of thy duties at the front. Stay, be with your family and rest. I shall return when all is completed, and then we shall have a banquet in celebration of our victory. Will it actually be our victory this time, or wilt thou somehow make it thine own excess again?
Luna replied darkly. Thou? Starstruck interrupted. This is not the time to be picking more fights, love.
Very well.
She replied before focusing back on Celestia.
Now leave before thou art struck down by my illness as well.
Celestia chuckled and recovered her helm with her magic.
By your leave, then. Fare thee well. Well.
Luna announced after Celestia had left.
My spirits are most renewed. Come, my precious Twilight. Tonight thou shalt assist me in raising the moon. Now remember that the moon will be much heavier than thou art anticipating. Thou must... I know, Mom, I know.
Twilight protested. You best be letting her get to it. She can't take the anticipation anymore. Starstruck laughed.
All right, since thou art so eager to proceed.
Luna replied. Twilight let out a grunt of anticipation, quickly twisted to face the east, then crouched slightly and flared her horn. Mosh, she looks like a proper right stink bug, she does, Star whispered to his wife. Luna began to protest, but then she had to stop and hold back her laughter as her daughter began wiggling her rump slightly and swishing her tail.
All right, art thou in harmony with the moon yet?
Luna asked while draping a wing over her beloved.
Just about.
Twilight grunted.
Remember, thou shouldst feel the harmony. It is not something thou can touch with thy natural senses.
Luna's own magic began to work, and she gently weaved her magic in with her daughter's. She felt along the threads Twilight had created, and she was impressed. Her daughter had everything nearly perfect.
Now, guide it up.
Twilight grunted in exertion. Despite all of her bravado earlier, Luna could feel her young one straining against the weight of the moon, and she smiled deeply. With a touch of her own magic to assist, the moon gently rose over the treetops into full view.
I did it!
Twilight panted, the exertion showing in her flushed cheeks as she turned to face her parents with a pleased smile.
I did it! I raised it!
Aye, and a fair job you did of it too, Star Trek remarked. Good job, lass.
Can I help again tomorrow?
Twilight eagerly asked her parents.
Please? I believe that I can be accommodated.
Luna replied, and she laughed with her husband as Twilight began cheering and hopping around in a circle of joy. Do you think she'll be able to raise it on her own one day? Star asked.
That I am unsure of.
Luna replied, and her gaze turned back to the silver orb before them.
My magic is greater than hers, and... No. Not here. Not now.
Love? What is it? Star Trek asked. Luna's eyes narrowed as the featureless expression of the Tantabus began to drift across the moon. There was only one reason why it would show now.
Leave,
Luna commanded.
This memory is not given to you, nor will it ever. You are to remain within the dream that I have created for you. Disobey and you will cease to be.
The Tantabus paused, and Luna almost thought she could see defiance moving across the deep purple ether that made up the nightly reminder of her betrayal. After that moment was over, though, they complied and slid out of view, and Luna turned to her husband and offered a wan smile.
Forgive me, love. My thoughts became troubled for a moment, but they are hampered no more.
You sure? I don't know what you rebuked, but it seems serious.
I am sure, Star. Come, let us dwell on this no more. I believe we shall now make a daring midnight raid of the castle stores in celebration of my daughter's achievements. Yes,
Twilight cheered.
Come on, if we hurry we can beat the patrols.
Oi, how do you know how to do that? Star Trek called out in amused alarm as his daughter shot off into the keep.
Did she really?
Cecily asked. Yep, she's out. Being confirmed.
Dear Lulu.
Cecily chuckled warmly.
Good thing she raised the moon before her energy left her.
I'll go get another blanket. Bean offered.
Good idea. She'll need it tonight if she has the chills like I did.
I hope she doesn't, he said before moving back towards the closet. What do you suppose she's dreaming about?
Something pleasant, I hope,
Saucy said with a sigh.
She always seems so tortured when I see her sleeping, so restless. I sometimes wonder if all those nightmares that she fights off somehow affect her own sleeping.
That wouldn't be fun. Bean walked back into the room, nearly covered in a thick blanket. She deserves to have sweet dreams when she sleeps.
That she does,
Dusty agreed. She smiled deeply as she watched Bean unfold the blanket, drape it over Luna's sleeping form, and then tuck in the edges around her body to keep any cold drafts from disturbing her. There we go, he announced once he was finished. That should keep her warm.
We'll keep an eye on her tonight too,
Dusty replied, lifting her wing and allowing Bean to snuggle in beside her again.
But I guess when I say we, I really should say you. I may not be so easy to rouse this evening.
I don't mind. One night's worth of lost sleep is worth having the both of you feel better.
So devoted,
Dusty replied warmly as she nuzzled him.
Thank you for everything you've done today.
Uh-huh, he stammered. You're welcome, just don't get sick again. Celestia laughed.
If I can help it in any way, I will certainly avoid it.
Man, only 2 more chapters left, guys. I'm really excited to get towards the end of it, and I absolutely love Luna's backstory, especially with her version of Twilight in a weird way. That was really interesting. I think I enjoyed that a lot. And plus, what could I say? I really enjoy doing this accent quite a lot. It's definitely one of my more favorite ones. That aside, however, what else is my favorite on my wonderful Patreons? Thank you, Chase LeMaster, Jason, Squall, Windfeather, Luna Gaze, 8th Day of Night, Starlight Blaze, Hyperlink, Nightingale, Rainflicker, Redeemer of Dark, and Dreamless Portal. My tier 2s, Captain BlueShadow, The Animated Ghost, HKH4 aka Texture, Sword Brother and Mordred, DanishDash, Nocturne, DJMX 2000, Papa Lennon, Can Panzer. And of course a large thank you to my Titan tiers, Dark Guardian, Maverick, and Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.